The immigration detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz now sits empty. Federal officials say that everyone held there has been moved out, citing the start of hurricane season as the reason. That's about 1,400 people, according to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that were moved out of the location. The government won't say whether the closure is permanent. The detention center in the middle of the Everglades still faces several legal challenges, such as those brought by environmental groups. Critics doubt the hurricane safety explanation for moving the detainees since the camp opened in the middle of last year's storm season. So why refer to the storm season this time around? Rosemary, I'd like to start with you. How do you see all of this?
I feel like this shameful, costly experiment has finally come to an end. And it didn't come to an end because of the unsanitary conditions or the unconstitutional treatment of immigrants. It came to an end because of costs. It turns out that to truck in trailers into the middle of the Everglades so that staff can live there, and trucking out sewage because there's no sewage treatment facilities, is a lot more expensive than Florida thought. They thought FEMA, the Miami Herald found documents said FEMA expected it to be about $450 million a year. In the first year, it's cost Florida over $1 billion, over $1.5 million a year. This is not a wise use of tax dollars. I mean, Republicans used to be fiscal conservatives. This spending that has been allowed by the legislature for this, without the reimbursement coming in, it's just been a we don't know how much it started, but yes, we do not know that the $1 billion they have $680 million. FEMA does as its budget for it. So we have overspent the budget that they've committed to.
I just like to make the point that in the spirit of Eisenhower, you know, one investment in one thing means a lack of opportunity cost of investing in another. What could we have done with that money, and how could we have helped our Florida families have a better life? And especially if we're talking about fiscal responsibility and having the property tax on the ballot, I'm just waiting for an opposition advocacy group to tout what happened to Alligator Alcatraz. And certainly 22,000 people have worked their way through that system. 22,000 lives, the humanitarian cost, the environmental cost, and not only that, the legacy of the DeSantis administration is really on the line here.
On the other side of the coin, though, there are voters who supported the move to have detainees who are not in this country legally removed, and they supported the idea of the detention camp. Akash, when you look at that, do you think what is the feedback that you're hearing in the community?
I think it's a DeSantis victory. Florida, they were talking about it, and Florida found a spot. They did it in 8 days or something very similar, and the Attorney General and the Governor, I think it was the Attorney General Luthmeyer's idea to kind of bring it to Florida, and Governor DeSantis stamped their approval. I think it's great. Hurricane season in Israel, we're saving, if this hurricane, which again this season could be worse, and we don't, knock on wood, won't, they were saving these lives and saving costs by doing that.
It was a stunt, and it worked. It got him known. It got him known around the world.
T-shirts, Alligator Alcatraz, the merch is selling. But let me just remind us.
And Florida has 3 other facilities, prisons, that are, to your point, yes, lock up those, especially the bad guys who we don't want in this country. But there were 3 other prisons that are set up to take ICE detainees. This was a stunt in a remote location with a brazen name, and it caught the world's attention.
The issue really is that there are those 22,000 people that have gone through those doors are unaccounted for. There's been no transparency of where they went, what kind of aid has been given them, and as we unravel the litigation, it's going to cost the state of Florida quite a bit. And that victory, that is easy to say now, except when it costs Florida taxpayers millions of dollars to defend constitutional violations. And in 7 days, there are environmental permitting processes, there are state permitting, there's federal permitting, none of that happened. That's against the law.
No, they fast-tracked it. And again, that's how it happened.
Just like they fast-tracked this property tax amendment in 2 days. Some of these issues that we talked about could have been addressed, but 2 days?
That was being worked on the whole session.
The rule of law belongs to both Republicans and Democrats, and I think voters are going to show up and they're going to vote wanting a rule of law.
And isn't it fair to say that a lot of the work that goes on in the legislative sessions happens in committee, happens behind the scenes?
Yeah. especially in the session. The governor talked about property taxes the entire session, teased it before session, and the committees worked through it, and then they just had a special session to knock it out.
It doesn't seem like Republicans are really on board with this all that much.
No, they didn't pass his plan.
And by the way, the detainees being transferred is not equal to closing it down. And so I think many of us are watching with concerns about the environment, concerns about restoration of the ecosystem. When will it actually be closed down?